Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Hacking Self-Storage. Yes, it will work like this. So, yesterday, as you may remember on the podcast, we had Steve on, and Steve opened a self-storage facility for £10,000, which I thought was absolutely wicked. Honestly, when in our school group, I said, right, okay, who wants to come on and talk about self storage or whatever? You can have one site. You can want to get in self storage. Why do you want to get? Anybody can come on. And as soon as Steve mentioned it, I got so many messages saying, get Steve on. We want to understand how we opened a £10,000 self storage. How we opened the self storage facility for £10,000, and at guesstimates now, I reckon he is getting the calculator out. I didn't ask him because I didn't actually want to. I felt it a bit rude, so let's just, for argument's sake, yeah, Steve must be doing close to £300,000 in revenue in this one site, and his profit must be over £200,000. I mean, Steve, I am very sorry if I'm wrong, but that was absolutely incredible. I really, really enjoyed it. It got me thinking so much. So basically, Steve opened a self-storage facility for £10,000. Steve and his friend wanted a less stressful business and saw self-storage as the vehicle to do it. And I mean, these are my notes that I took during it, and the VA put this presentation together because I think it is so important just to highlight that you don't need to be a multimillionaire. You don't need to have hundreds of thousands of pounds in the bank to set up a self-storage. Steve put £5,000 in, his business put £5,000 in as well. And together they did. I mean, it's normally, I know what you're thinking, well, it must be a perfect location, i.e. it must be tarmacked, it must already have the gate there. It wasn't like that at all. It was a mess. It was overgrown, it was grass, he actually got into a digger himself. I mean, talk about resourceful. In being an entrepreneur, we need to be resourceful. Sometimes there's problems that come, and we need to be very resourceful. Steve had never driven a digger before, but he just got in the digger. He sent me some pictures across as well, which, to be honest, I really should have put in this presentation because it would have been absolute. Let's just check. Did I actually put it in? I don't think so. Yeah, and so he got in the digger. Thought, it can't be that hard to use a digger. So he started clawing away at the grass, filling it in with stuff, packing it down, putting pads for the containers to sit on. I mean, that's the next level. That was unbelievable. But do you know what? Sometimes we've got to do what we've got to do. And now he is reaping the rewards. So with a £10,000 budget, Steve started with 2 containers from Mobile Mini. He leased the containers from... So he started with 2 from Mobile Money. Then every couple of weeks, he used to get some more. He leased them from Mr. Box at £8.50 per week. See, you don't have to start. You don't have to buy the containers. You don't have to asset finance the containers. There's other ways to be profitable. So let's just say that Steve bought the containers. Leased the containers at £8.50 per week, and he rented them out for £30. So that is, take away £8.50, public maths, £21.50 profit per week on these containers. Now, £21 per week doesn't sound like a lot, but if you've got 100, £21.50 times by 100, that's £2,150 profit from leasing them. And you get an option to buy as well. I mean, that is just absolutely incredible. Steve didn't spend any money on advertising. I think it's really, really important to say this. Steve didn't spend any money on advertising. It was just word of mouth. Now, for caveats, to give you, I don't know, just to go against, or just to give you some sort of, well, basically, he opened, he opened a number of years ago. Could you do it now with no advertisement? Yes, you could, but it's got to be in a great location. Now, Steve grew from word of mouth, made sure every customer was happy, and I did a presentation in Las Vegas basically saying that every customer needs to be a walking, talking billboard for you and your company. They almost feel obligated, like they owe you something to talk about you and your company, and that's what we still do now. It's our mantra: get the customers to be a walking, talking billboard of us and our business. I used to love it on the Facebook pages where somebody said, "Do you know any self-storage companies?" And then boom, 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 Dean Beverly 24, Dean Beverly 24. That was when I was running the sites. And I love that. So Steve didn't spend any money on advertising, but it's worth just pointing out that this was many, many years, well, not many, many years ago, but a few years ago as well. He relied on the site's visibility and word of mouth to attract customers. I think that is so important that even if you are spending money on ads, we do need to focus on keeping our customers happy, making our customers happy. By the end of the first year, 38 containers were fully rented out. I just want to take a minute to highlight this. I think this is an unbelievable achievement. 38 containers rented out with no pay-per-click campaign, with no money on ad spend. That is just him doing a fantastic job with his current customers. That's it. 38 containers. What is it? 38 divided by 1.2. Because we always aim on the container site, we always contain to net one customer a week. But that's with pay-per-clicks. 38 divided by 52 equals, so it's 0.7 containers net rented out each week. I think that is absolutely wonderful. 38 containers rented out in the first full year. And he's bearing in mind, he's doing all this at the same time as, right, got to order 2 more containers, right, let's dig out the footings, let's make sure there's something to put the containers on, and then let's order the containers. So £38. He's making £21.50, isn't he? Because of a £8.50 rental, £21.50 times by 38, he's making £817 every single week. Times by 52. That's 42 grand a year just from them 38 rented out. Are you getting just how profitable self-storage can be? £42,000, including the rental, the lease. And you can, obviously, there's an option to buy as well at the end of the leasing period. So you're actually paying down the principal in most. I don't want to say in this one with Mobile Money because I've never dealt with them. I have had some interactions with them when I was up at Sunderland, and they're a fantastic company to deal with. We was going to open a self-storage site next to Mobile Money in Sunderland, and they were so helpful. They were so fantastically nice, and yeah, they went out their way for us as a company. And so I've had some dealings with them, but I've never actually rented a container. So I don't know if the ones that we're looking at renting at the minute, leasing, you are paying down the principal in effect as well, because at the end of it is a balloon payment of £100. The container's yours after 4 years. I don't know the idea of this one's. Maybe there isn't, maybe there is, I don't know. But even if there isn't, he's got £42,000 profit. Don't get me wrong, obviously, I don't think there's any electric because there was only a little bit of electric on site, but there's rental as well, whatever the rent is. But it wouldn't have been much because I think he said it was like £500 a month or something like that. So it wasn't massive, but he's only just started his journey at 38 containers a week. Steve expanded to a new overgrown plot rented for £500 a month with deferred payments. That is crucial. Look at that again, the old entrepreneurial spirit, right? I might not have the £500 now, but I do have. I can make sure that we have a rent-free period or deferred payments, and just to free up some cash flow. That is what we teach in the self-storage secrets course. Is there's a site that we're opening now. I wanted a rent-free period. I wanted any rent-free period is a bonus, but they wouldn't actually give us a rent-free period, but they give us 8 months half price. Now, I would say that you probably normally get more than that, but I'm happy with the 8 months at half price. It just gives us that little bit extra of wriggle room with our cash flow, and so it makes a big difference. On this plot, they expanded to 88 containers. I don't know how long that was. So let's say 88 containers times by £21.50 because that's his profit he's getting per container. That's 1,892. And remember, he's only expanding when he needs the containers. That part is crucial. He's only expanding as and when he needs these containers. So that is £1,892 per week times by 52. He's making £98,384. Let's say there's £1,000 a month of, let's say even £1,500 £500 a month of expenses. So that's £18,000. So he's still making £80,000 a month, and he earned 80,000 not a month, £80,000, and he only put in £5,000 each. There was two of them, £10,000 altogether. Honestly, I'm sat here getting excited because I'm like, oh my God, that is incredible. And I never want to say it's passive. It's never passive. But our Beverley site has been up and running since 2012, and we take just over £200,000 there. The running costs, I say 30,000, but it's less than 30,000. Our rent is 18, our rates are 6, and we don't have any water. We have no water. No need for water on site. And we have maybe £150 a month of electric, and that's it. And then I've increased the expenses just in case we've got a handyman to paint something. I don't know. So I just cover. I always say 30,000, and we probably spend 2 hours a week on it because it's an unmanned site. Yes, there's customers there. Yes, we get quotes, so we've got to deal with, but it's probably 2 hours a week. Steve reinvested. This is interesting. So exactly like we're doing now, I don't take a grandioso wage, even though our EBITDA is our adjusted EBITDA is 7 figures. I don't take a grandioso wage. I reinvested. The reason why I reinvested, and I'll do a podcast episode about this as well. I actually think that for every £10,000 that I take out, I can get £3,000 back. I can get 30% return. So if I'm taking out £100,000 for myself, I'm like, wait a second, that's probably going to cost me £30,000 a year because I know that I can get at least a 30% return. So it's so that's why we reinvest it. Obviously, at some point, I do want to up my wages and it'd be nice to have more money, but I just see the value of reinvesting it. So Steve reinvested every penny into his business to scale steadily. And I think that's important, steadily. The reason why we put that in there, steadily, is because I never want to get it out there that self-storage will get you rich quick. It won't. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It will get you wealthy long term. Steve now has over 170 units and counting, and he's planning his second site. So let's and by the way, I know that we said in the podcast episode that he's already bought the units now, so there is no extra rental. There's no rental for the 170. But let's say there was. Let's say he was still renting the containers at £8.50. So he's gaining £21.50. And by the way, this is from no insurance as well. Let's say you're renting £30 a week plus that. There is no insurance on this, where I always teach you must include insurance, which will be an extra minimum of £6 a week. But for arguments here, let's say there's no insurance. I mean, £6 a week, it doesn't sound a lot, but it is when you've got 100 containers. That's £600 a week. That's massive. That is huge, and so that makes a massive difference. That's a lot of money. Do you know what? I'm like, oh my God, public maths. 600 times by 52. That's £31,000 a year. That's crazy. That just by adding insurance, an extra £6 per unit. And by the way, that's a minimum that we say you can have is £6. But again, that is something that we teach in the self-storage course. And I would say now a lot of independent operators are putting insurance on. Why wouldn't you? If you're not, you're leaving money on the table. But let's say that he wasn't doing insurance and he's still renting the containers out. £81.50 times by 170. I know he's got more than 170, but let's say for argument's sake, he's only got 170 rented out, because you'll never be full, because, well, you will be full from time to time, but then people will then move out and then people will come and use the container. But in that, there is days during, somebody might move out on a Monday and then it might not fill. You might have somebody on the waiting list coming in on a Thursday, so you've got them periods of days. So you're never ever always full. So 170 times by £21.50 equals 3,655 profit per week if he was still renting the containers out, which we know at this point he isn't. But for argument's sake, let's say he was. That times by 52 equals £190,000. And like I said, let's say there's £1,500 of running costs every single week. So you're taking away £18,000, £172,000 profit. If he was not charging insurance and he was still renting it out as well. So he's got an absolute amazing business from £10,000. I just want to caveat again that it's not easy to find locations. It wasn't easy for Steve to get into a digger. I'm like, all right, how does this work? What does this do? Press this button. What's that? So it's not easy to do. And by the way, if anybody's watching this, yes, this is an Oodie, by the way. I am wearing an Oodie. I'm outside. I'm in a pagoda, and it's cold. All right? So it's not easy to do. It wasn't easy for Steve to get into a digger and think, what the hell is this button do? But it is possible. It is possible. I'm only here to try and show you what is possible. And it's just an amazing business model. It's just an amazing business model. So it's not like you're going to go on Rightmove today and find a site that's you can open for £10,000. That probably won't happen. But if you look and look and look, in the course we talk about Irving, where I was going to open for £20,000, and I was easily, comfortably going to open for £20,000. The only problem is that the landlord listened to my podcast and decided to do it himself. So obviously, that wasn't great. But it is. I'm just showing you what is possible. And so obviously Steve now is planning his second site. So lessons I've learned here: start small and test your idea. Why not? Why not test your idea? I mean, he's limited his risk here. He's limited his risk very much so, because if it doesn't work, guess what? He's only got 2 containers on a lease. Be resourceful and creative. I think without doubt, Steve was very, very resourceful. I think Steve is inspirational. Sorry, Steve, but I really do. I think it is inspirational what you have done. And I just want to take a minute to say that I respect it so much, and it's motivated me so much as well. Focus on visibility and convenience. I always say this. I say that you need to be, I believe, in a great location now. Why would you want to be back of an industrial estate now? Yes, will it work? Of course it will. Will it work in 10 years? It'll be tougher. I'm not saying it won't work, but it'll certainly be tougher. Reinvest your profits to grow sustainably. That's what we've done for 12 years. Don't take a massive amount of wages out, me and the missus, but we will reap it. The way I look at it is we're gardeners. We're planting seeds. We're reinvesting. We're planting seeds, and them seeds will sprout and give us more seeds to plant again in the future. Okay, my friends, so this is just an episode just to let you know that it is possible what Steve has done. He's done it. He's proof. For £10,000, even I was like, is it possible to open a self-storage for £10,000 and have a business that nets over 6 figures? Yes, clearly is. But just to give us some wriggle room, in the course, we have done it for 6 figures. For £20,000 to net 6 figures a month. So yeah, it's possible. Steve, thank you so much. And it's Alliance Self-Storage for anybody who wants to have a look. Thank you so much, Steve, for sharing all this on the podcast. It was a wonderful, wonderful lesson for us all. All right, my friends, I love you. I appreciate you. And I will speak to you tomorrow.